Hello and welcome. I am Lisa Barnett and I am the author of Akasha. And I am so excited to be here with my good friend, Jennifer Huff. And Jennifer is also an international best-selling author of the book Unstuck and is an expert in Scientuality, which is the science of quantum healing.
Yes.
So we are going to be chatting about quantum healing and the Akashic Records, how the two, Akasha and this beautiful energy of the quantum healing, really come together. So, hey, Jen, it's so
Hey,
nice. Nice to be with you.
I'm excited to be here. You're one of my favorite people.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
yeah, I mean, in this world, it's just so lovely to play with people who are so deeply gifted in a certain area, and you definitely are.
Oh, thank you, as are you. So I love that mutual club that we get to
Yeah,
belong to,
the
right?
Mutual Appreciation Club,
Right,
exactly.
exactly. So I often talk about, and in the book Akasha, we talk about quantum healing really through the Akashic records, or because I always say, the Akashic records or Akasha is part of source energy, and that is all part of the quantum field, which
Hmm.
allows us this amazing ability to move outside of time and space and do healing. So I just, love to hear how you see it from your amazing experience.
Well, to give it context it's so fun because you and I having a conversation, we're constantly in discovery about how we can see things more deeply. And even as you just asked the question, I was thinking to myself, yeah, the Akash is like um it's like the soul's memory through time. And it contains that memory, and it's codified in a certain dimension of non-space time. But then when someone is born, um, that memory, along with the personality and the skill sets and the natural propensities and the history and all of it, and the trajectory that we get sent on, that's the most important thing to me, is that we get sent on a certain trajectory in our life. One might call it a purpose, but so many people kind of mistake purpose for your job. Like your purpose is your job. Your purpose is not your job, it's who you be. And then you apply who you be into a job. So an Akash is sort of like that. The Akash is sort of like who you be, and it got poured into a body. So it got enlivened by a physical body in space-time, in 3D. So it's like this beautiful memory, trajectory, set of skill sets gets poured through. And this is what how I see things is holographically. So when you ask me a question, it's kind of like this holographic world opens up in front of me, and I'm like, how do I describe this? So that is how it looks to me. How it looks to me is like this beautiful other dimensional. I'm not going to say multi-dimensional, I'm going to say other dimensional aspect of consciousness, gets called forth into a physicality that's like an agreement of sperm and egg donor.
Right?
It's an agreement of the culture you get born into, and as soon as everything matches, it's like a magnet. It's like and off we go on a time-space journey in 3D.
I
So
love it. I
yeah.
love that very expansive view of it. And I often talk about, like in my book Akasha,
Mm,
and is that we have really done this, all of this information, this infinite wisdom of who you
yeah.
are. We sat down as that infinite soul and said, what do I want to do in that kind of 3D world, in that body I'm going to
Yes.
take on, create. And
Yes.
so all those soul contracts, all of those gifts and talents we've honed in other other lifetimes, many other, past, present, future, other dimensions. And so I often look at it like right now in this fascinating time in history,
Right.
we are opening to invite in more of
Yeah.
that Akasha, more of that infinite wisdom of the soul into
Right.
the body. So I know you do a lot of that with your holographic views of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
energy, the energy healing, the helping to oh build bridges, right?
Yes. Well, I wanted to give props to the timing of your book because I really did because here's the thing. In this world of, right now we're in this time of building a bridge from a very polarized, survival based way of living. And we're going to a time where the pendulum doesn't have to swing so far, you know, like the pain doesn't have to be so much before we make new choices. So that history of who we are, in order to do that, we have to transmute some of those agreements that you just talked about, some of those patterns that you just talked about, right? And that's the beautiful work that you do and the beautiful work that you teach others to do, right? So the point is that if we can go direct with our innate wisdom, the need to be involved in the drama is much less. And if you do access the innate wisdom, which is why the Akasha is so pertinent right now, if you do access, when you do access that innate wisdom, you're connected to the information that's necessary for you to be able, us to be able to, everyone to be able to navigate these polarizing times with ease and with some grace. And so, yeah, in my world, in my world over here, holographically speaking, I would say that embodying, or let's say making your new default, uh, operating from a place where you're not constantly protecting yourself from the polarity, creates a world with less polarity just because we start being that way. So that's where that quantum work comes in, the embodiment piece. So as one works on one's Akash, one becomes available for a new operating system. So that's where I would say where the Akash complements that work of the quantum world and embodiment. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I love that because, sometimes when we start to talk about quantum healing or, quantum physics, of course, people
Yeah.
are like, oh, I have no idea about science. And I get it because, I've been there myself.
Uh-huh.
And then that realization is that there is such an infinite world that is accessible to each and every one of us through the Akash, because
Yes.
that is the recording of your soul's journey. And we have been so many different things. We have been scientists, even if we're not now. But that energy, that wisdom is
It's right
available to
there.
us.
Yeah.
It's
It's
really right here. And
Can I
it's
tell you
so,
something? I was going to tell you something about my mom and her twin sister, her identical twin sister.
yeah.
So if anyone ever had a question about Akashic Records, I was like, because I've talked about this before in the courses that we do. My mom, Pam and Penny, that's their names, Pam and Penny, and they're both adorable. They're both 83 right now, so cute. And my mom was born with a propensity for music, and like she was musical right from the get-go. She was athletic right from the get-go. She was less intellectual and more like that genius of being able to be personable and connecty.
Yes.
So these are the propensities that we come in with from our Akash. Like that's part of the Akash, right? And her sister, identical twins, people can't even tell them apart now. So her sister with that soul that came, like that Akashic record, soul and spirit, all coming in through that body, is like very intellectual, much more mathematical, extremely, what would I say, methodical, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's such evidence for that we each come in differently, and to master our unique, I don't know what you have to say to this, Lisa, but we each, because we have a unique history, we also have our own unique way to connect to that infinite wisdom, like the way, like what we hear, the filters we have to hear because of the past that we've lived. And if we don't know anything about the Akash, then it's kind of like you're floating, you know, you're it's like a wing and a prayer, you know. So that's what's so important about the book. Like, it's time for the masses to really know about this,
To
you know what I mean?
understand. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you know or remember this about me, Jen, but I have identical twin daughters.
I did not remember that about you. Oh my God, I don't even think I knew that about you.
You may not have. And I was just saying yesterday,
Hey.
identical twin girls, kind of, well, polar opposites and best friends,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, still even my mom and her twin best friend still.
Right. And so I've had the gift of watching how a soul individuates even
Mhm.
in an identical body. I
Yeah.
thought when those babies were born, I thought this is my perfect scientific experiment.
Right?
Is to see how to prove, like, to me, in, of course I'm always proving
Yes.
things to myself, that's what we do,
Yes.
study, right?
Yes. Yes.
um to prove to myself that we are such individual soul, right, souls, and that soul is unique in its own way. And even when that
Yes.
unique soul comes in
Yes.
to an identical body as another unique soul, they are totally different people.
Just like
Totally
the package looks the same,
different.
but completely and totally different people. And that's why it's so important. Lisa, you and I know this. It is so important that people don't give their power away to gurus, because we're looking for answers for ourselves from someone else. But even when they're so close to understanding life the same way we do, it's still not the same. We have to really honor that connection to source, that connection to our innate wisdom, our own connection. And the mastery of that is something I know that this book helps with. You know, it's really about honoring how, it's just, I can't, you know, this giving our power away to people that seem richer, bigger, smarter, on more stages, all that kind of stuff. It just makes the world a complete mess. So anything that empowers us with the knowledge of how unique and special we are, man, it is time for that, tell you.
Yeah. And that really, a million years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, the record keeper said to me, this is one of the greatest empowerment tools on the planet, being able to read your own Akashic record, being
Right?
able to enter that library and see if you're more clairvoyant, or feel the expansiveness of who you are as a soul with many, many, many hundreds of lives as an earthling, but thousands and millions of lives in other places, planes, dimensions, realms,
Ugh,
worlds, everything. You are so unique. And
it's
I agree,
magic.
right? We are
It's
not.
magical. We're so magical. And to the degree that we can get that we're magical is the degree to which we can actually play with our lives rather than oppress ourselves with this seriousness and the have tos and the musts. Because then we start opening ourselves up to who we really are, and some superpowers start to appear, right?
Right.
The I was going to share with you too, as you were speaking, just holographically speaking, just this stuff started dropping in. And what I saw was, it's not like you haven't heard me talk about this, but it just in the context of our conversation, it seems important to say. Most people don't think about, I do, probably you do, but most people don't. And I just want to presence it because it's so divine. It's so alchemical. If you think about, here we are in a 3D time space reality in the third dimension, right? Playing out a life. But like there's the dimension of waves and the dimension of gravity, the dimension of love. There's a dimension of quarks. There's the dimension of other subatomic particles. You know, there are all these, the dimension of angelic realms, the dimension of guidance realms. There are dimensions, and imagine that within the time-space reality, the earth is moving a certain way, civilization is moving a certain way. So there's civilization, there's earth, there's whatever culture you're going to come into, or this soul is going to come into, this Akasha is going to come into. And so that culture has an evolution, the soul has an evolution. And imagine in like an instant, all of those things are in perfect confluence, where the perfection of the existence of that conglomeration of soul, spirit, Akashic record, it's all of a sudden perfect. Like all of creation thought you were a good idea, and instantaneously you animated a body. Like it's just, it's not by mistake. It's so unfathomable. It's so based in magnetics. You know what I mean? So imagine, like, who must that person be with that history, that in this time and space, with that body, the culture you're born into, those parents, everything's happening in civilization, that you were born now. Like, we better get curious about it, because that's who we are, right?
Right?
Seriously.
It's such a special time, and we are all, I believe, really here to help evolve this world. And so it is such a joy to get to hang out with you, Jennifer, and chat about the Akashic records and the quantum field of the Akasha, and really share this wisdom. And so I am excited and looking forward to people diving into the book, because there are many stories. There's 20 stories that people have written about their experience in the Akasha. And my dear friend Jennifer's written a beautiful endorsement on the back cover of the book too. I so appreciate you. So thank you for spending this time with me and sharing your light and wisdom today.
Thank you for sharing your light and wisdom in that book. It's brilliant.
Thank you.